Okay, so I wanted to continue from the rest of my story that I was talking about yesterday. It was my ex-boyfriend, Aiden. So anyway, I'm gonna try and stop saying because I know how irritating that sounds. When I met him, I was ready to look for another serious relationship. What I didn't realize was that he was looking for someone to mess around with. He wasn't really serious, even though he said he was. I think finding me was going to be some sort of game, and if it worked out, then obviously that would have been quite surprising for him, and if it didn't, then it really didn't mean anything to him anyway. So I hate to say this, but it probably was a waste of 5 months, because I put a lot of my heart and my soul into him, and believe it or not, he was gay and he didn't want to admit that to me. There were a couple of things that, you know, I guess signs that were there, and I chose not to think too much about them, because I thought that having him as a partner, he would be the one to tell me if that were true or not, and I wanted to be able to trust him. But being in a relationship with a guy that is a control freak is really hard, especially when their biggest secret is that they're gay and they don't want to talk about that. And I have nothing against people who are gay. I've talked this over with my own husband that I have now. And my biggest issue is when they're not honest, and that I'm talking about gay people generally, is that when they're not honest and that they try and hide who they are because they're scared of everybody else, and they use people. I was used for 5 months being in a relationship with Aiden, and it was very sad, because really all the things that he said about, you know, I think we did come to a point of looking at the future and what we wanted to do, but really meeting me was a joke, and I'm sad that, you know, he thought it was funny to do that, and his friends thought it would be interesting to do that too, just to sort of disguise his sexuality. So I guess I also want to say to you guys, if you're watching this and you are gay, don't be afraid of what society tells you. Don't be afraid of being who you are. The worst thing you can do is to use somebody to hide who you are. That really is the worst thing that you can do, because believe it or not only are your feelings not quite right because you're hiding them, but the person that you're with, especially if they're genuine and they really want to know the real you, will be hurt as well when, you know, you finally admit to them that there is something that's different about you, and you really should have told them at the beginning. See, I feel that what would have been a lot better is that Aiden had said to me that he was gay and he was okay with it, and you know, I would have been happy to let him do the things that he wanted to do, and I would have found somebody a lot faster, or I would have been on my own for a bit longer and still being able to figure out the things that I wanted to do in my life. So yeah, that's my personal feelings about my second relationship. A couple of people, when, you know, I talked to them about this, they thought that I was using him, and that's a really sad thing to think as well, because as I said, if he had mentioned to me that he was gay and he was fine about it, I would have been fine about it too. when I used to ask him if he was gay and just genuinely sort of, I don't know, I didn't want to make a big thing out of it because I didn't want him to be scared, but I also needed him to understand that, you know, there were some signs there that we needed to discuss. But he would get really angry with me about it. And he'd run away from me. So it made it very difficult for me to fully trust him. And I tried to overcome that. There was a lot more to it than that. He was very manipulative. He, you know, I don't know how many times it happened, but I have a feeling that he called my mum a couple of times behind my back without telling me. Can't really remember what reasons. There were a couple, and let's be honest that when we're in a relationship with someone, it doesn't always mean that our lifestyles are perfect. There are things that, you know, we still haven't figured out, but when you're with somebody and you know that you both have something to figure out, then that's what's really important, rather than somebody else thinking that you're the one who's in the wrong. And he did make me feel like that. He made me feel like I was doing the wrong thing, that I was asking the wrong questions, that literally I was just doing everything wrong in the relationship. And then when there are times that I was doing something that he was happy with, I almost felt quite manipulated by that, because I wasn't actually sure if he was being genuine about it. So, because I'm a very emotional person, I loved, you know, him. I loved my first boyfriend as well. I loved them because I felt like they were, at the time when I was with them, people that were there for me. But as I said before, when you're in a relationship and, you know, you have family and friends mentioning things, you don't always want to believe them, because you don't actually want to admit that they may be right. With Hamish, yes, he was a waste of time. Aiden was also, he needed a lot of help. But, you know, there was no way of knowing until I was in the relationship either. I mean, when it's really hard to explain how it happens when you fall in love with someone, but sometimes you fall in love with them because it tends to be the way they look. They've got something there that you think, oh, it's really cute, or handsome, or just, I don't know, something that you're genuinely attracted to, sense of humor, just ways that you act together. And then it grows from there. You start trusting them and thinking that they're somebody that you could see being with in the future. But, you know, after I had been in the relationship with them, talking to my family about it afterwards, especially my mother, because my mother played a really big role in my life, I started to realize that I was being used, and that was a real shame. But I've been there and I've done it, and now I'm with an amazing man who cares for me deeply. And for those of you out there who are with somebody, I hope the same for you. And he doesn't have to be good looking. He doesn't have to be Prince Charming. It's just funny what we start off thinking about when we're younger, that we really want that type of guy that is good looking. We just want one that, you know, girlfriends and all that are jealous about, because, oh, he's, you know, because you can show him off. But you don't want a boyfriend that you want to show off. You want a boyfriend that is there for you. Well, now I'm married, but you want someone that is there for you. And you might get a little bit jealous when other girls are talking to him, because you care for him, and there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. Of because you want to believe that he's there for you, and you want to believe that nothing comes between the two of you. And that's what's really important, building that trust in your relationship. I know this has become a really deep and meaningful conversation and if you weren't expecting that, well, you didn't have to watch it. But I just think it's really important for you guys out there to know that no matter what sort of time in your life that you're in, no matter whether you're with someone now or you're not, or you're soon to be with someone because, you know, things have just started blossoming, understand that it may not always be fairies and unicorns the first time you're with somebody. That's what I wanted, you know. When I was initially with my first boyfriend, I wanted things to be perfect. I wanted to know that he would be my first and forever would be my first. Do you know what I mean? And I remember thinking that, well, I talked to him about it, I remember that, and when he told me how much he loved me, I believed, or how much he would, you know, how long we'd be together, I believed that it was going to be forever. But I just want to let you know that if it doesn't end up being forever, don't be heartbroken, because things happen. You know, we blame ourselves for our silliness, we blame them for our silliness, and sometimes it's meant to be and sometimes it's not meant to be. I really couldn't tell you whether or not your partner was best for you, but what I could tell you is that there are things you can look out for, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean to say you're going to pick up, you know, everything in your relationship. And none of my relationships have been perfect. The man that I'm with now, it's not a perfect relationship, but it's the best that I've ever had. And I'm so grateful, you know, that he's there for me, he respects me, and we're learning every day. And that, for me, is a lot more important than being with someone who doesn't want to try to do better, who thinks that everything they do is perfect, everything you do is the best. No, we are growing every day. And he knows, and I know, that there are things that we have to work on. But that is what it is all about. I think people get the whole idea that being with a partner or getting married is because you finally found the perfect one, or you finally found a perfect relationship. Nothing is, it's just that word, perfect. It's not perfect. The best that it can be, because it's just like yourself. Are you ever at a stage when you think, oh my God, I'm perfect? Are you? Because you're not. There's always something that you have to work on. I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. I've still got so far to go everywhere I am. And, you know, I come to standstills of stopping and starting and stopping and starting. But I'm not going to go talking about that anymore. The reason I wanted to share these experiences with you is basically because I want you to know that it's okay for you to think that there are things in your relationship and your life that can be better. And you can tell by certain ways, again, whether something is healthy or not so healthy for you. My first 2 relationships that were serious were unhealthy for me. They were. And I can honestly admit that. The relationship I now have is healthy for me. As I said, we have a long way to go, but we're growing every day and we're learning every day and we're improving things every day. No one will ever look at a relationship and think, wow, they've got it all right. No way. None of us will ever have it all right. But What's different is that the people that you may think have it all right are the ones who are working it out all the time. They're not letting things be. If something upsets one person, they talk to the other person about it. They don't, you know, keep it hidden like a secret, or tell their next door neighbor about it rather than telling their actual partner. Because really, your partner is your soulmate, and they're the people that you should be telling everything to. And it's okay. I mean, for me, I used to tell my mom everything, and I don't need to as much now. And she knows that I am happy with who I'm with, you know. And I tell Greg everything, because I believe that he's the person that needs to know what's going on, because I want things to be better. And the same with me, he'll tell me everything. And again, you know, there'll be, when you start off in a relationship, it doesn't matter what, you know, relationship it's going to be. I guess you don't know until you're in it. But there will be mistakes that you both make. You might start off with, you know, a couple of things that you don't want to discuss. There might be things that you say that upset the other person. You think, well, that's just too bad, you know, they can live with that, but really deep inside they're hurt by what you said, and that's something that you need to overcome with them. But you know, that's something that you just learn. So keep in mind that this was not a video to make you feel bad about the relationship that you're already in. It's not a video to make you feel that you're doing the wrong thing. It's a video to help you do a lot better. And it's a video to know how to look out for something that works for you. And I'm not an expert in it either. I don't know the best way to say, oh, he's right for you or he isn't right for you. But I think you can also tell before getting into the relationship. I should have said that at the beginning of the video, because I remember saying that this is not for people who are single. But anyway, the point is, if you feel like you're starting off with somebody, or you feel like you've met someone, or you've seen someone and you think, wow, I wonder if, you know, it could work out. Well, you know, the only person who can find out is you. You're the only person who can figure out if it's going to work for you. Nobody else can. Nobody's going to date them for you. You have to look at that person and think to yourself, could I really make this work with them? And if it means spending a couple of months getting to know them as a friend, then do so. You know, with my first one, I don't think I spent long enough being a friend of his. I spent more time and effort into making our relationship work firsthand. As I said, I'd met him online, so it meant that things may have gone a little bit faster than I was hoping for. I mean, when we met each other, I don't know if there's a way of saying it, but there are things, like, how do I put it into words? You can meet someone and date them, right? And then you can go through all the different stages of getting to know who they are and falling in love with them and all that sort of stuff, and then actually getting into a relationship with them. That was what my first one was like, and that didn't work. My second one, couple of dates, I guess we were more friends than, you know, together, but then I moved in with him, so that made it more serious, but it was also really hard. Then this one that I have now, we were friends for a while. I mean, I can't even remember how long it was. I was actually in love with somebody else when I met Greg, and I had never met him in person, and that's a pretty crazy thing to have, is to be in love with someone that you've never met. I guess I was head over heels for a guy that I was messaging online, and we know what that sort of lifestyle is, getting to know people online and thinking that they're everything. But I don't want to go into detail about it, but this guy certainly had a lot of problems, and I'm so glad that I didn't end up meeting him anyway, because he was in the same country as me. I just know for a fact it wouldn't have worked, because he just put, I know what I did, but emotionally he just messed me around. He was happy one minute, angry the next, and then he wanted to commit suicide, and it was just really, really hard. It was that massive baggage that I really didn't need. And during those times, I was very grateful that Greg was there for me when this was all happening. So he was a really good friend of mine. So when we first went out on a date, Greg and I, he tells me this, that he fell in love with me first time we met, but it took me a while to feel the sort of same things. And I preferred just being his friend for a while, because that's what I really, really needed, was a friend. And then, you know, he was living with his housemates and he was finding that hard, and I was living in the unit on my own. He moved in with me, you know, soon after the times he was coming over to visit anyway. And when it was getting serious, that's when he moved in. And it worked out a lot better that way, I feel, because we got to know each other living together, and we got to know, you know, how it was like to be really good friends before diving into a relationship. And then what was it? I think it took 1.5 years, and then he asked me to marry him. So yeah, it was just crazy how fast it went. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking, but thank you so much for listening, and feel free to comment below what sort of thoughts you have about relationships, knowing when one is healthy, one is not. I can't honestly tell you about abusive relationships because I have not been in one. There are ways that you can seek help if that is what you feel, because maybe something is happening that is quite serious, but you don't know how to deal with it, and you're keeping it quiet, but because you're keeping it quiet, it's hurting you inside. I honestly don't know. When I was with Aiden, the girls that I was working with thought that he was being abusive, and it wasn't abusive, it was controlling. He was just controlling me, and as I said before, I was being manipulated, and there was a fair bit of neglect, a fair bit of emotional blackmail. It may have been abusive emotionally, but to be honest, I don't really know much about that stuff, so I can't really pinpoint that. All I do know is that I'm thankful I'm out of that relationship with him, because it was making me really unhappy. And I can tell you now, when I was having the first one, I was feeling emotions like that right at the end, feeling like I wasn't being treated well. But yeah, I couldn't really tell you much about that. You just have to understand who you are, understand what it is that you're looking for, and understand that there may be bumps in the road that you will not expect, and you're the best person to figure out whether or not you can deal with those bumps in the road. Because really, down to the bottom of it, a relationship is about trust, respect, and honesty. And these three things, you know, go a long way, because they really show, you know, how you two are going to get along with everything. Keep in mind that I'm talking about me being the one who was trying really hard to make the relationship work. There are others out there who might do videos like this, but they weren't really doing the best. I don't know. And, you know, I do understand I made a lot of mistakes in mine, but if I didn't, then I wouldn't have learnt how to fix things, and I wouldn't be here today. You know, well, I wouldn't be here with Greg today. I could still be single, and there's nothing wrong with that either. I was thankful that I met him, because he was definitely looking for somebody as well. But he was serious about settling down, and it seemed like the other two weren't really sure whether they were green or blue or purple, if you know what I'm saying. So sometimes when you're looking for that right person, you've really got to find the same thing that they're looking for to make it a lot easier. And, well, maybe not a lot easier, but make it work a lot better for you, because you don't want to be the type of person who's looking for a serious relationship, and the person that you're with, well, he's absolutely everything, but he's not committed. You know, do you really want to put yourself through something like that? I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys go, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm sure there are some things here that have made you think about what you're looking for, what you found, and there is nothing to say that you can't keep looking. Age is not an issue here. Finding the person that respects you is the issue. When you respect yourself, it's more than likely that you'll find someone that respects you too. And that's all there is to it. Okay.